This Transformers 96 here with another video, and we'll be talking about a newly shown Hot Toys figure, and that figure is, of course, Wonder Woman. Very exciting. I was really hoping that during the week of the release of Dawn of Justice, they would show and release Wonder Woman, and that wish has come true. They obviously have, so very excited about that, and let's get talking about it. So, the figure looks great. It really does. It's not going to be a terribly fun figure, I think. However, just the actual design and look of the figure is excellent. I think that just starting right off the bat with likeness, I've seen a lot of people complain about the likeness that it's completely off. I've seen people just say that it's there's just something off about it. It's nothing major, but there is something off. And I've seen others that say it looks perfect. I happen to belong to the group that think that it looks pretty perfect. I really do see Gal Gadot in the actual facial likeness. I think that it does look really nicely. I have compared it with pictures of her, and the only thing that I can see that's a little off is that the lips, they come to more of a point on Gal Gadot rather than being so rounded off. And that's really the only thing that I can tell, though. The face maybe looks a bit longer than hers. However, I can't attribute that to any facial feature unproportionate to another one. So I really can't tell if there is anything off about this figure. To me, just to my eye, I think it looks great. I really don't have a problem with it. I think it looks like an actual excellent likeness of her, and I think that it just looks fantastic. So personally, I see a lot of people complaining about the head sculpt. Definitely not one of my concerns. I think that it looks quite nice and pretty perfect in general. So I'm quite happy with that. The actual body and costume, I'm really disappointed to see how much rubber is being used on this figure. I'm not a fan of rubber. I do prefer when they just use plastic and just show the joints. I know that, you know, it looks better with the rubber, but just rubber doesn't last forever. And personally, I haven't had any figures with rubber that have had their joints, you know, crack or anything like that. But apparently, you know, it will happen eventually, if I'm not mistaken. So I definitely don't ever want to see. I don't want to buy a figure knowing that it's going to be destroyed, you know, in a few years or whatnot. So I am hoping that that they're using at least a high quality of rubber to make sure that that doesn't happen, or at least so that it doesn't happen for as long as possible. But unfortunately, it looks like her complete body is rubber, which means her shoulders and elbows are rubber. And then unfortunately, they have used rubber for the back of the knees, or just the knees in general. So I find that to be really disappointing, considering the front of her knees are completely covered. I think that the knees would have been a fine place to put a joint in. I really wouldn't have expected them to actually do it rubber, but they did, which is really disappointing. The shoulders and elbows, I understand why they did it. However, I personally would have preferred them not to. At the very most, just the elbows would have been okay, because obviously the shoulders, you can hide the joint of the shoulders with her hair, just like all of these pictures have her hair in front of her shoulders. So if she had a joint, it really wouldn't be noticeable. But unfortunately, they did still just do the rubber, which is unnecessary and quite disappointing in my opinion. She has gone on pre-order for $235, overpriced. I think that this figure should be $210 to $215. I think that $235 is a good $20 overpriced, which is a shame because you know, usually with the women figures, they don't cost that much. I think that the most expensive one was Black Widow, which came with quite a lot of accessories, and she was $225. So this one is, of course, much higher than that, which is such a shame. Going over all the accessories and everything, she doesn't come with too terribly much. She comes with a standard Batman vs Superman base, which the base looks nice, but for Wonder Woman, it doesn't have her symbol on it. So I would have preferred just to actually have her symbol instead of the popping out Dawn of Justice logo, because it doesn't have her symbol anywhere on it. So I would have preferred just to get the W style base instead of just the same one that we're getting with Batman and Superman. She comes with her lasso, which I don't know if we'll actually see her use it in this movie. I would imagine she'll use it in her own movie, though, that comes out next year. Comes with her sword and her shield. Both of those look detailed really nicely. You get a multitude of different hands. It looks like you get a pair of fists, a pair of hands for holding either the straps of the shield or the sword, and then a pair of relaxed palms. Would have liked some open, more expressive hands. Hot Toys seems to be lacking on those with just about every figure that they do, which is unfortunate, but she does come with the basics, which is nice. So Just in general, I think that the figure looks excellent. I think that the facial likeness is great, and I think that the body and everything looks fantastic. The only problem is it's not going to be fun because you really can't pose this figure. The thighs and the torso should have a nice joint and should be well articulated. However, because of her outfit, which is going to be a rubber instead of like a cloth, because of that, it's going to be very hindering on those two points of articulation. So you're really not going to get much in the thighs or the torso. The ankles and the wrists you should have full articulation with, and then of course the knees, elbows, and shoulders are all going to be extremely hindered because they're just hindered by the rubber in general. Also, when you do hinge those points, you're going to create a really bad looking crease in the rubber, which won't look good, and then you're also going to be stressing the rubber. So because of that, I won't be articulating her like at all at the rubber points. Which means she's basically going to be a statue. She really is. I mean, basically what you see here is what you're going to get. You're not going to be able to do much with it. And she's going to look great on the shelf, but it is a shame. I don't like to get a figure and just put it on a shelf and call it a day. I don't enjoy that. You know, that's not why I spend so much money on these guys. It's fun to get them and to pose them, take photos, you know, do things like that to really get your money's worth. And then when you're done with all that, then you put it on the shelf and admire it and everything. So it is a shame. This is basically going to be a statue, at least for me. I mean, if you could really just care less about hurting the figure, yeah, you could get some decent poses out of this, but if you really want to keep your figures in good condition, you're definitely not going to be posing this one. So definitely not a very fun figure, but a great looking one. And also, there's not a single picture of her from Hot Toys with her doing anything. She's just standing in every single picture. You know, same pose, same stance, because it's not a pose in every single photo. So I really don't think that you're going to get any sort of pose or even dynamic stance out of this one, which is a shame. So this is one that I'm definitely going to be getting because it looks great, and most of all, it's Wonder Woman. You know, she's a main Justice League member. I do plan to, of course, get all the Justice League members, so this is obviously one that I'm definitely going to get. If you want, you could wait for the one that's going to come out from her own movie or from the Justice League, both of which come out next year, but I can't imagine it's going to be very different from what we've seen from her movie footage. She wears basically the same outfit, and they're still going to use rubber for the next one, so I really, you know, I don't see the reason to wait. Unless you're part of the group that doesn't like the head sculpt, then waiting might be good for you because maybe they'll update it. But for me personally, I think the head sculpt looks great, so I don't need to wait. She comes out between July and September, which is awesome. I believe that that's the same time that Batman's scheduled to come out for, and Batman went on pre-order months ago, so it's wonderful that she does come out in a nice, reasonable fashion. Hot Toys has really got their act together with their release dates. They used to come out with release dates that were like 10 to 14 months out, and now they're coming out with release dates that are like 6 to 8 basically months out, which is excellent and really exciting and everything. So overall, great looking figure, not terribly fun though, I must say, from what we're seeing here, but definitely a character that's a must-have for most people, so definitely is going to be a must-have for me. There you go, that's my video where I'm going to be, where I'm talking about the newly shown Hot Toys figure of Wonder Woman. Thanks so much for watching, and let me know what you guys think of this figure.